This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com. To find out how you can help kickstart our latest show, Live from Bay 6, visit our website and click on the Kickstarter button. Coming up on Game On, when there's something strange in the neighborhood, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters! We're ready to believe you!
Hey there everyone, and welcome to Game On. I'm Cameron Harris, and today we are going to be reviewing Ghostbusters, the video game for PlayStation 3. Now the game is rated T for teen, and it's sort of an action-adventure style game. Now it's important to point out that this game is available on almost every console, which is very nice. It's available on PS3, of course, Xbox 360, the PS2, and even the Nintendo Wii, in fact, as well as some portables like the PlayStation Portable, the Nintendo DS. The game is everywhere. But don't expect you're going to get the same experience on every single platform. The PlayStation 3 version, as well as the Xbox 360 versions, those are my personal favorites because you get, like you see here, very realistic, very nice graphics. I've played the PlayStation 2 version, and those sort of more lower-end consoles or older consoles don't have as much power. As such, they can't give you as good graphics, and the result is they didn't try to make the characters look realistic in those games. In this game, they look really realistic. In the other ones, like the PlayStation 2, they almost look like caricatures, very cartoonish. Now, the storyline for Ghostbusters, the video game, it's not just a rehash of the first two movies. You don't play through moments from the movies that you've already seen. This actually plays much more like a sequel, much more like Ghostbusters 3, except a video game. This is what happens after Ghostbusters 2. You don't play one of the original Ghostbusters. You are actually a brand new character. They're experimental equipment technician. You get to test out all the cool new gear that the Ghostbusters have worked up. Now, of course, New York is just filled with ghosts that you need to capture, and there's a really nice, spooky storyline to go along with it, but don't want to give anything too big away, so you'll have to play the game for yourselves to find that one out. Something else that I really love about this game is that the storyline of the game was actually written by the same people who wrote the original Ghostbusters movies, Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, also known as Ray Stantz and Egon Spengler. As such, it's exactly like one of the movies. There's great banter, great dialogue. The storyline doesn't feel like it was just kind of slapped on to the Ghostbusters franchise. It really feels like it's an integrated part of the Ghostbusters storyline. So let's start up a new game and take a look, shall we? So here we have the main menu right outside Ghostbusters HQ. And we're just going to go to the career mode. And we're just going to choose a new career. Now, in terms of difficulty level, I would recommend Experienced is kind of a nice mid-range to start with. Eventually you can go to the professional ranking, but that is actually extremely difficult. So we'll just start with Experienced. So it's our first time in the game. You start off in the top level of the Ghostbusters headquarters, and you can see you're all fitted out with a proton pack. You can look around. Very detailed game. If you're a big Ghostbusters fan, you'll know this is what the set actually looks like.
Let's move. Okay, easy now, Cadet. I'll talk you through this. Use the proton stream to get his attention.
So now we're ready to actually start using the proton stream, your main weapon in the game. And you can see we've got a nice little tip right down here. In the case of the PlayStation 3 controls, R2 fires the blast stream.
Containment unit. That's some highly sensitive equipment you're disintegrating there, kid.
So the idea with capturing ghosts is that you need to use your proton stream or any other weapon you have on your pack to weaken the ghost. Once you weaken them, then you can actually draw them into a trap like you see in the Ghostbusters movie all the time. So we can just start by targeting Slimer and get him.
You're a wicked shot, Doobie! See that overlay on the ghost? It indicates the current accumulation of a ghost's PKE. The more you disperse, the weaker it becomes.
Now you can see that as I'm capturing this ghost, the heat level on my pack is building up. Now you can either stop using your pack for a little while to let it cool down, or you can hit, in the case of PlayStation 3, it's the R1 button to manually vent the pack and cool it almost instantly, which you want to do pretty frequently when you're in the middle of a fight. And you can see almost everything in the world is destructible, which makes it quite a bit fun.
Ooh, we lost Slimer.
Now one of the nice things is that once you enter your capture stream, which is where you're trying to wrangle the ghost into the trap, your heat level no longer builds up, which is very nice, because it can take a little bit of doing to get a ghost nice and tuckered out so you can trap them. So the square key on the PS3 will launch the trap, and you get a nice little beacon so you can actually see where you need to put the trap. Now, one of the things you'll notice is after playing the game for a while, it's not always very easy to maneuver ghosts right into a trap. And once you do, you got to use your capture stream to keep them in there long enough to get them sucked down.
And there! Oh, yes! One escapee accounted for.
So now you're heading off to the Sedgwick Hotel. There are actually quite a few locations in the game that are classic Ghostbusters locations.
Training will be on the job tonight. Try not to destroy too many Manhattan landmarks.
So training has now basically ended. This is a real, actual mission now. And you can see now that you're in a more open environment and a gorgeous environment, you can see that the graphics in this game are unbelievably great. Amazing color, amazing detail. You can see gorgeous environment, lots of detail. One of the things that a lot of games tend to do, I notice, is they don't add a lot of objects in the world, you know, so you'd have just kind of like basically a blank room, but in this case they've added furniture, they've added people, plants, decorations. Really, really great stuff. Now you can see here, another key Ghostbusters tool is the PKE meter. Now that thing is actually right on your belt, and you use the triangle button on the PlayStation 3 controller to equip it. Now what's really cool about this is that it's, you know, classic Ghostbusters, and it actually allows you to track ghosts that are hiding. Now one of the nice things that they've added to the game that's not really in the movies is actually the ability to take a scan, which is kind of like a photograph. If you scan something by hitting the R2 button,
Way to go!
it gives you some more information on that particular object, ghost, whatever sort of ghostly entity it is. Now this is a little bit more of a typical fight in this game where you've got quite a few ghosts, sometimes as many as, you know, a dozen. You can see they'll knock stuff into you, they'll slime you, they'll do anything they can to stop you. Now the controls for fighting are actually very simple. You really only have a few buttons. The button to cool down your pack, the button to actually fire your stream, and there's also, once you start getting upgraded proton packs, you get other weapons that you can switch to using the arrow keys. And then of course your PKE meter. Controls in general are very nice, very simple considering how much you can do. And very easy to do, because these fights tend to move pretty quickly and you need to move pretty quickly along with them. Now, an important thing to point out in the case of this game is that you'll notice there's no real HUD. There aren't any like health meters or power meters or heat meters overlaid on top of the screen. Really, the only thing you have is your little center reticule right there. Everything else just kind of pops up occasionally, then goes away after a few seconds. So you might think, well, where is my heat level? Where's my health level? How do I know what my state in the game is? Now, this is kind of interesting. You'll either love this or you'll hate this. All that information is on your proton pack. So, for example, this big green bar right here is actually your health meter. The less green there is, it'll slowly turn to yellow and then to red. that's your health meter. Now, as far as heat goes, it's also on the pack. If you start firing a stream, your heat starts to slowly build up on that little chart. And once you get to the top, you can see that now you've completely overheated. You're completely in the red. You're actually getting steam out of your pack. Now, it'll slow down over time, but you can also use the manual vent button. Very quick, and it vents your pack, completely cools it down almost instantly. Now, this becomes a nervous tick in battle because your pack will heat up pretty quickly. So it's like, the instant you have a break, you'll manually vent it. Because if you do end up going into the red without manually venting it, it'll actually take 5 or 10 seconds to cool down, which can make a big difference in a fight. In terms of your health, the way your health meter actually works is if you do lose health, you don't actually just immediately go out of the game. You're not just done. I'll show you what I mean by that. Now you can see up here it says that Peter needs a medic. So basically Peter has completely run out of health. He is now down. But he's not completely out of the game. Instead, you actually just find him. You can see his pack's kind of sputtering there. And you can actually revive him. Now, this works in the exact opposite with you. If you run out of health, you essentially pass out. You're lying on the ground. You can't do anything. There are some missions where it's just you, and if that's the case, then you're out of the game. But oftentimes, you have at least one of the other Ghostbusters there with you. If you run out of health and they are still, up and at 'em, then they will actually come over and help revive you, and then you have full health again. As such, you also want to make sure, there we go, raise down. You want to make sure that if someone is down, you revive them pretty quickly. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to get into a situation where everyone is down and then it's game over. You've got to restart the mission. Now, in terms of ease of play, the game does occasionally get pretty hectic. This is actually comparatively a simple fight compared to something you'll have later on in the game. They get more and more complex and more chaotic as the game progresses, and they get harder too. And there are some instances later on in the game where some fights seem practically unwinnable, and you'll end up going through them multiple times trying to figure out how you can get through these things. But there aren't too many instances where you find that. Now, one of the really cool things about this game is the pause menu, or your PKE meter. Now, it gives you, of course, the standard, like, here's your current objectives. But it also gives you Tobin's Spirit Guide. Any ghost that you make a scan of, you can actually go into your Spirit Guide, see descriptions of that ghost, what you need to do of them. Some ghosts need to be trapped. Other ghosts that are weaker ghosts, you can actually just use the proton stream until they completely disappear. Weaknesses, what their attacks are, descriptions, that's pretty fun, and the descriptions that they have of these ghosts are actually quite hilarious. And then also, upgrades to your equipment. You get more and more upgrades available to you as the game goes on, and also, the more scans you do and the better you do each mission, you get more money. So like in this case, this is a blast stream focusing upgrade, $1,500. So if I were to purchase this upgrade, then my blast stream wouldn't wander as much. And some of the upgrades, once you fully upgrade your pack, it's actually quite fun. And you'll have a total of 4 or 5 weapons that you can switch from as you move on into the game. Although some of them, it seems like they just added the weapons just because they could. They don't really do anything different than the standard proton stream. They just look a little bit different. So there are some cases like that, but then there are weapons like the slime blower, or there's one called the stasis stream that'll actually freeze a ghost in its tracks. Pretty fun stuff that you don't see in the movies.
Look out, on your left!
So in general, Ghostbusters is a fantastic video game for the PS3 or the Xbox 360. The other platforms are great too, but this is my personal favorite. Now, until next time, be sure to visit our website, www.harwoodpodcast.com. I'll have a link where you can learn more about Ghostbusters, the video game, and even buy it if you're so inclined. And if you have any questions or comments for me, or a suggestion for a game I should review on the show, send me an email at cameron@harwoodpodcast.com. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, it's game on.